This is Boxing Tickets NI. We are here at Academy One Fitness in Belfast and delighted to be joined with the jet setter, Conor Quinn. There's a couple of reasons for jet setter. Obviously, you're just back, obviously, this morning from Scotland. Obviously, been away sparring. Obviously, a guy's obviously fighting next week. But you do a bit of jet setting normally in life. Like, I know you've been away on holidays flat out, but how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, I wouldn't say jet setting now. Maybe get away every couple of years if I'm lucky. You know what I mean? But
well, you still do this every fight. After every fight, you treat yourself. Obviously, you don't drink and you don't eat really much bad food. So sort of you and the missus obviously get away after every fight. So that's a jet setting.
Yeah, well, when you put it that way, I've fought plenty, so I suppose I have got away plenty.
but obviously, I guess it's a busy start to the year for you. I guess when we sort of look back, obviously in 2023. You've obviously achieved everything you wanted to do. You wanted to be pushing towards titles at the end of the year. You've now got 2 belts. Like, everything you probably maybe wanted in 2023 came true for you.
Yeah, definitely. You know, starting last year, I just wanted to sort of get myself in the position where you were going to be fighting for titles at the end of the year, and then you'd be pushing on for some major titles and getting my name in the rankings and stuff. And you know, I've obviously went and won them 2 belts, and I think I'm ranked 3 or 4 with the EBU, which is another belt that I'd love to fight for. Should be mandatory for the full Commonwealth and right up there for the British as well.
I guess obviously it's just like a sort of year of Mark's really good obviously, and we see it with so many fighters, even with obviously Colin Murphy as well, building the blocks, building the foundations, so that obviously when you get into these bigger fights you're ready for them. You know, it's not just a case of being in a fight and everything else. Like, you want to be a multiple weight world champion, but you have to make sure that you move along at the right pace. There's no point sort of going from a 6-rounder to a 12-rounder. You're being paced very well. Sort of the fights have come at the right times. Probably you'd ideally wanted them earlier, but they came at the right time now. And then probably, I guess, 2024 is probably a moving year for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like, obviously, as a fighter, you want to just push. But you know, sometimes when I sit back and look at it, and I speak with Mark and stuff, I say, like, in my first 12 months of boxing, nearly I'd got myself into this position. You know. As a fighter, you know, turning over professional, my dream was to win 4 belts in boxing, and it's the British, Commonwealth, European and World. And then obviously go on and go on past that in terms of different world titles and stuff like that. But realistically now I'm within real touching distance of 3 of them belts. So if I was to pick them belts up in the near future, which I would be expecting to, you'd sort of be looking and going, Jesus, in maybe 2 years as a pro, you've sort of done 90% of what you set out to do. And you know, I'm only a young lad, you know, plenty of time, and I don't want to rush anything. I don't want to take anything, take an extra step when I don't have to. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at who has the belt at the moment, and I genuinely believe that I'm better than these guys. So when the opportunities come, I can't say no.
I'll obviously, just on that, obviously Jay Harris and Conor Butler's been made, and that's going to be for British, European and Commonwealth. And I guess the politics of boxing is going to start to play in, and sort of it's who can produce the most money. Obviously, whether one of them decides to indicate the Commonwealth or the British or the European. Like, you could ideally win these 3 belts in one fight. Like, do you sort of have to very quickly sort of reset your goals and obviously what you want to achieve? Because you have to make something that's realistic, but at the same time, like, if you win British, European, Commonwealth belts all this year, within the first, say, half of this year, you're sort of going, well, what do I do next? You know, it's like, do you go straight into a world title fight because it gets you top 5 in the world rankings? It's like, do you do this, or what do you do? Do you take a step beforehand? Like, it could move very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's it. That's the beauty of it. You know, you could be sort of sitting a couple of months ago thinking, geez, when's it all going to come? And then it all comes at once, you know what I mean? So, yeah, like you said, Jay Harris and Conor Butler obviously fighting each other. 2 very good fighters. And like you said, obviously the winner, that's going to have 3 belts. And with 3 belts becomes a lot of sort of, like you said, the politics in boxing comes in, you know, with mandatories and things like that. But looking at them 2 guys, obviously the winner, I'd love to fight for all 3 belts. But if I was putting myself in their shoes, maybe looking at the young kid coming up, like say Jay Harris, he's went and fought Martinez for a world title, probably in it for one last roll of the dice. If he wins the fight, is he going to want to fight this kid coming up who's blowing everyone away and potentially not for great money, or is he going to want to move on and fight for another world title and try and get himself a few quid before he retires? that's totally up to him. But as long as the belts are there for me to pick up along the way, genuinely couldn't care less who it is in the ring.
You don't care if it's a vacant belt or you just have to take a belt off someone. As long as the belt's over your shoulder at the end of the fight, that's all that matters.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to pick them all up, one by one, or three in the one night. Obviously, it sounds a lot better to say you can get three in the one night, doesn't it? But listen, I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. Obviously, whatever opportunities Mark presents me, I'll take with both hands. And obviously, then it's down to me to go in and produce the goods, which I think I will do.
Just casting aside from yourself, obviously, for a wee second, obviously, someone you sparred in 2023, Sonny Edwards, obviously, fought Rodriguez. I was getting sort of mixed up with names every wee second. I think that sun shining through, obviously, the ice and the snow at the moment sort of put me off. But obviously, what did you make of that fight? Did you sort of, I guess, when you were in sparring with Sonny and stuff like that, he can be very elusive and things like that. Obviously, we're not sort of looking to put Sonny down, so if anybody's sort of looking at this in a way, but were you sort of surprised that he sort of wasn't a bit more elusive in the fight? He sort of wanted to stand and trade. Were you maybe expecting a different fight, or I guess, is that probably discredited Bam and obviously how good he is?
Yeah, listen, you can look at it from two sides, obviously. I think anyone that sort of has been watching Sonny Edwards throughout his career, he's been unbelievable at moving, and his defence is amazing and stuff like that. But then obviously the other side is Rodriguez is unbelievable. He's obviously the number one flyweight in the world at the moment. I genuinely thought it was between him and Sonny Edwards. I probably would have had Sonny as number one, Bam as number two, and now obviously it's switched around. But the way I look at it is, I sort of understand the position Sonny Edwards was in there, in a way of people saying, oh, he's going to run, he's going to do this. Sometimes maybe your heart gets over your head and you say, right, I'll go out and show them what I can do. And I thought he started to fight well, but listen, in the highest level of boxing, one punch can change a fight, and not even necessarily a knockdown or a knockout. The shot that maybe closed his eye, obviously then things change for him. His game plan's out the window. He has to box a certain way, then his other eye goes, and and that's the beauty of boxing. These things can happen, and like I said, it's not to discredit Rodriguez because he done it. You know what I mean? Like, you see some fighters in there and they've got out and they maybe made complaints about injuries or whatever. But the flip side of that obviously is that's the other opponent that's putting that sort of damage on you, and that's what Sonny Edwards came out and said. He says, like, obviously it was unfortunate, but it was Rodriguez punching me that done that. So I think, looking from the outside in, I thought he would have used his footwork a wee bit more and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, he probably hasn't done himself too much discredit because everyone's talking about him now and saying what a great fight it was, and they want to see him go again. I think Bam Rodriguez straight away had said he was moving up to super flyweight, so all them belts are vacant again, and Sonny Edwards will probably pick it up in his next fight. You know what I mean? So fair play to him.
Obviously, Belfast boxing's booming at the moment. Obviously, Potty, your stablemate here, is obviously in Orlando, Florida the week after you, obviously headlining against Berlanga. Anto Kakachi's fighting Joe Cordina in Saudi Arabia. Lewis Crocker's headlining here in Belfast next week. Does that sort of give you that hunger and drive and desire now where, even though your man's been marked in law, is maybe looking at some of these big promotions now and hoping for your opportunity, I guess, you're only willing to get the world level very quickly or build exposure very quickly by the likes of Matchroom or Frank Warren or Boxer or Top Rank or even PBC and things like that, sort of putting them all in there. Is that what your sort of next aim is now, is to sort of impress them in the right way where you can get a big promotional contract?
Yeah, listen, definitely, you know what I mean. Obviously I've got a good test ahead of me here in 4 weeks' time, all being well past that, and then it should be on the promoter next time, you know what I mean. Mark's already in talks with a couple of people, and he's always working behind the scenes to get these things sort of lined up. And I think if I go out and win this next fight, which obviously I'm 100% confident that I will do, then we'll probably take it from there then. But I think after that it is time to sign to a big promoter and start sort of getting my name out there on the world stage. Obviously, like, I completely understand boxing, and I understand why now at the stage I'm in, certain fights that I would want, I can understand why people aren't going to accept them or defend their belts against the likes of myself. Whereas if you have a big promoter behind you, Frank Warren, Boxer, something like that, then you are going to get these fights because you're obviously on the world stage, people know who you are, it's a big build up, and the fighters are getting a lot more money as well.
Fist of Fury, 17th of February in the Europe Hotel. I've sort of went along the lines of it. I believe that it's you. It's headlining the card. You're the only one that's in a 10-round fight. John Cooney obviously added there this morning to the card as well. Obviously, I guess it's a strange one because when you know Anto Kakachi's fighting the same night as well, you would sort of like to ideally plan around that and obviously plan around news like Fury and stuff as well. It's probably going to be a card where I guess you have to be fully focused on your fight and when you're fighting, but I think it's going to be ideally wrapped up for the main event, but you'd obviously like to be able to catch Cardina and Kakachi along the way as well.
Yeah, listen, obviously, the initial plan was it was going to be Fury Usyk after our show, which is a great night for people coming to watch. They're going to get to watch brilliant boxing with all us fighting, and then they're going to get to watch the Fury fight after in the same venue, and that'll be brilliant. But I think now, obviously, with Kakachi Cordina being announced, I think there would be more of an incentive then to wrap our show up even earlier, started earlier, finish earlier. Everyone there to support Kakachi, obviously, and then watch the Fury fight after. But I think, personally, if you were asking me, Fury Usyk's obviously a brilliant fight, but when there's someone from your own city and someone that you've watched growing up and that you've been on the shows alongside and that and that's the main event to me, and it should be to everyone else in Belfast.
It's obviously 5 years to the day since we've had a last success in one of the four major belts. Obviously TJ Tahini, obviously 5 years ago today at Madison Square Garden. That's the last male world title win. Obviously Kakachi then we know with IBO belts and everything else like that, but I'm just focusing on the four main ones. In 4 weeks' time for Anto to go and become IBF world champion, it's going to incentivise yourself and everybody else coming through. As we've seen with the IBO belts in 2022, 3 of them followed very, very quickly. We're in that stage now. We look at obviously Lewis and Paddy there as well. We could literally have a year here in 2024. We get 3 or 4 of the 4 belt world champions back here again.
Yeah, definitely. People maybe from the outside looking in to see these world titles and they're thinking, God, I know you'd never be able to get to that point, that you never get to that level, and I might have thought that myself when I was a kid. But see, when you get into the game and you start to sort of see everyone around you, and you're seeing the likes of Anto Kakachi and Paddy McCrory, and all these guys are more than capable of winning these belts. It's just about getting the opportunities. Most of the fighters that I'm seeing on a daily basis around Belfast are, a lot of these world title fights that you're seeing, faking belts and stuff like that, the opponents that people are fighting, all these guys in Belfast would wipe the floor with them guys. Do you know what I mean? It's just getting that opportunity and getting in the position where you're the one fighting for the belt. And obviously Anto's got himself there now, and in fairness, Joe Cordina's obviously a true world champion, so it's a great fight. And if Anto goes out and wins, which we should all be behind him, supporting him, it's you're doing it the right way there, aren't you? You're beating the champion and stuff like that. But I think that'll just sort of open the doors and obviously bring the big shows back to Belfast and give all the fighters a bit more confidence as well. That look, one of our own went and done it. Why can't we follow in the footsteps? And obviously you've had the likes of Ryan Burnett and all in recent times here in Belfast, and obviously Carl Frampton, who's going to go down and one of the greatest boxers ever. But come out of Ireland, obviously. But I think it'll just sort of open the floodgates, as they say, and everything will start sort of really taking off when Anto goes and does the business.
Your opponent, obviously, on the 17th of February, I'm going to try and see, what I'm like trying to pronounce names, Jimsy Kimbanji. What do you know of him? Have you watched much of him, or do you leave that more so down the D?
Yeah, listen, I know obviously he's got a good record. He's got plenty of knockouts, 20 wins, and I think nearly half of them's knockouts. And I have watched 1 or 2 of his fights, just skip through them. I don't watch obviously the full thing, but he's explosive. He's good. He's a good fighter. From what I've seen of him, he shapes up well, and he's quite wild. He throws shots from real strange angles, and every shot he throws is to try and take your head off, to be honest. So I think that it'll make for an exciting fight. You know what I mean? Because for the first couple of rounds, he'll be quite dangerous, and then obviously, me being me, I'm very, very confident that I'll break all these guys down, and when they're coming to win, that's when I'll be able to expose them a wee bit more and put them away. You know what I mean? But
you're selling the fight well here. Mark's been training you well in the background. When you're sort of talking there and you're sort of saying explosively sort of come forward, where you've had fights before and you've sort of said, I'm going to hurt these people, and you maybe haven't been able to get them out of there. When you're seeing an opponent like that, that's music to your ears. You want someone that's going to come and fight, give you the openings, so that you can sort of put them back in their place and sort of do like a no-mass sort of to them, either get them to quit in their stool, or obviously you knock them down and make the referee make a decision for you.
Yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? Like I always remember that fight that I fought in the Fela at Brian Castro, and I remember thinking maybe halfway through round 2 or 3, and I was going, this guy genuinely has no interest in fighting. He just wants to survive. Like, I was like hitting the heavy bag. Do you know what I mean? And I was saying, I think for me to get the best out of myself, I want someone that's going to come and try and take my head off, like Chris Little did. Do you know what I mean? And it was a great fight right up until the moment where obviously I took him out, but that brought out more of me, and that's the type of fight that I want. And when I'm looking back on the fights, and I can see all these guys that have maybe went in and blew out in a couple of rounds and stuff like that, and I don't even watch them back. You just skip, and then you get a good fight where someone's coming to take your head off, and you rise to the occasion and you essentially take their head off. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm in boxing for, and that's the type of fights that I want. So that's what we're getting.
Do you make New Year's resolutions? I know some people do, some people don't. Some people make them and don't stick to them. Have you made like a boxing resolution, like something you'd really want to do this year? Like, there's obviously Katie Taylor, Sheffield Cameron, look, they're going to have their trilogy fight. Obviously, if Mark picks up the phone to you and says, Conor, do you want to be on that card in Croke Park or the Aviva or where it's be? Is there something you've really set your mind on this year? We know last year was all about belts. What's on your mind? What's the big thing you'd like to tick off in boxing this year?
Well, see, to be honest with you, I haven't thought about it like that, because obviously before Christmas I'd known about this fight, so the full focus is on this fight. But if I'm thinking now, trying to sort of I would like to pick up a couple more belts, and I would like to be fighting on sort of one of the main TV channels, sign the fight on them, and not just have one fight or get on 1 or 2 shows. I want to be signed to one of these top promoters, and sort of at this point next year be sitting here thinking, right, I've got a major title fight in the coming weeks, or I'm fighting one of the top guys in the division, do you know what I mean? And that's what really gets me excited, really gets me going. But as of now, it's just February 17th, and like I said, I've got a tough kid coming to try and take my head off. So as far as New Year resolutions, it's just been get to the gym and try and improve.
Obviously the week after, we sort of touched there a wee bit in Paddy, but obviously the week after, Orlando, Florida, you're going to be there. Paddy hasn't paid for any part of it, has he?
Not at all. Jessica, she's paid for it all.
Typical.
Listen,
she buys the food, she pays the whole.
That's exactly it. That's what I was saying to Dee the other day. I'm getting the same deal as him, getting to go to Florida for free. You know what I mean? Obviously, he's gonna get a wee bit of money after it when Paddy knocks Berlanga out. But I'd just be happy to be there to witness it firsthand. But no, I can't wait, mate. Obviously, then that's going to be a sort of a turning point in Irish boxing as well, and it's going to be a turning point in our gym, because after that he knocks Berlanga out, which I genuinely believe he will do. And yourself, you've been in there around the gym, everyone believes it. Obviously Berlanga is a world-class opponent, but we don't care. Do you know what I mean? And
you've been part of the stable as well. People's going to start looking at what other fighters D Walsh trains, which is perfect for you. If you're not signed, if you're not signed to a big promoter by then you have the likes of Matchroom and stuff like that, and they're going, D Walsh, come up with a master plan. Who else is in this stable? And you've got your hands up going, my name's Conor, come and pick me.
Yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? That's obviously you want people to do well for themselves, but it also then reflects highly on us. Do you know what I mean? So, like I said, Paddy will go and he'll get the win, and then that'll bring opportunities to myself and Lee Reeves as well. And we're all in here every day training hard, and just to even be seeing the work that Paddy's putting in and stuff like that, it's all going to pay off, and that's the sort of motivation that the likes of myself needs. Do you know what I mean?
I guess it gets Paddy well prepared when he's carrying the world title belts in the ring in 3 years to come. We're getting him well prepared for these big occasions.
Yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? I let Paddy have his moment now, his 15 minutes of fame, as they call it, and then once he does Berlanga, does another couple, and then wraps it up, he can come in and be my kit man, you know.
Definitely. Well, look, we know you're about to start your station here. Obviously, thanks very much for your time. It's good to catch up. Obviously, roll on, obviously, 4 weeks' time where you're back in action. I can't wait to get another one under that column.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks very much, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, Conor. Thank you.